Today we're going to be taking the AXC24 by Axial and upgrading the tires and rims and the foams. This is the stock set that it came with. Looks like it's the Rock Lizards. They're good, but just want something different with something a little bit more weight. We're going to be slapping on these little guy Swamp Kings. So that's the Swamp King there that we're going to put on, and then this is the Rock Lizards that are already on there, and you can see that there's really just not much of a difference in terms of size, but or height that is, but width there's a good bit more on this one. So paired with these Swamp Kings, we've got the Crawler Innovations foams. They're just super soft and hopefully will give them a bit more pliability on the rocks. And then lastly, we've got some beadlock rims, the brass weighted from TREAL. So a little bit heavier, and I'll just get a comparison before and after of what this total weight is on the stock tire versus what we're going to. All right, step one, got to rip out all the foams that came with these tires. Obviously a very different size, but these are definitely softer than this, whatever came in this tire. So these TREAL rims, what it looks like here. So we've got to take out take out this one screw that it comes with, put this all together onto the tire, and then we'll need to screw in all of these other screws here, which of course they give you 1,000 of them. All right, sadly, all of these are going to be something super small that not even a 1.5. I think it's maybe like a 0.55. That's the difference there between what we're trying to do. This is for the wheel. This is a 1.5. So, all right, so just use some scissors to cut this in half, and didn't do a great job with it, but this is a bit more squishy. So I think this size should be fine and should get the result that we want. Put the brass in. Now we'll take this guy and punch it through. Beadlock. Get that roughly into place. Put one of these screws down just to see how that goes. I mean, feeling the difference between squish here. I think these tires are just a little bit, they'll probably break in a hair, but at the same time, I'd say it's about equivalent to what I have right now. So, I mean, I would almost consider running no foams in these and see what happens, but that might be a challenge. Like, it does probably need some foam in there. But we've got 2 of the screws in place, and now I'm starting to see that the wheel compresses and it's not able to get air out. But I don't know when that kind of pressure, like it squeezes all the air out and then it makes it really hard for the air to get back in, just how tight the seal is. So these aren't vented rims or anything like that. That's something to look into. So it's going to take some time for this to restore to its normal size. But I don't think there's ever going to be a time where I'm crawling and there's that much pressure on this, but I don't know, real world test, we'll find out. With these wheels here, I figured out we would check all the individual weights of the parts, and then I'll do a comparison of this tire plus wheel plus foam compared to the stock setup here. So each of the parts looks like we're getting about 26 grams from the rim, 0.5 grams. Each tire is 15.8. We'll put it all together and get a full weight with all the screws and everything else and compare that against what was there on there originally. And then we'll also do a comparison of the weight before and after on the AX24 once everything is stock weight plus everything put on there, and we'll see where we land. All right, one done, relatively straightforward. It looks like the bead is kind of popping out there a little bit. Actually, no, it looks like that's fine because that's how it looks on all sides. So this looks okay in terms of seating. The other thing to worry about or to be aware of is that the rubber got in the way of a couple of these screws here on the beadlocks. So as you're putting on the tire, just be thoughtful about not getting it underneath the beadlock.
All right, so I'm about a month into this now, and looking back on these rims, I got them because they were inexpensive, but the reality is these screws don't really do much, and a lot of the other options out there don't have this many screws on the beadlock portion of the rim. I would highly recommend going with a different set, and I can link a couple of those in the description below. But before you go and take a look at these, I would consider whether or not you want to do 16 screws per rim every time you want to swap something out. So food for thought now that I've had some time to play with these things, but would not recommend.
So these are taking quite a while to put together, so I figured I would do an official time on how long it takes. So Got the timer down here. Let's get it started. All right, third tire's done, 8.5 minutes, start to finish. That's a long time. Other thing I'm noticing is that without any sort of venting on these tires, you squeeze them, they hold their, you can see there's like a lot of compression in there. So I might vent them with a drill and just in the back here, just put a little hole in there, but we'll see. Last tire, let's knock this thing out. All 4 tires are done, and now the last piece is just the hubs. I've started to work on it here, and then the thing I'll call out is that the set comes with 2 different types of hubs. These ones are on the tire to start with, and they're still in here, and you can see what that looks like. So it's a little flatter, but then there's an option to throw in one that is a little bit longer, so it acts as a spacer. And you can see the difference between that's where I've got it installed here, and then where it's this is the standard one. So it still pops it out just a little bit. Alrighty, time for some weigh-ins. Let's see here. A complete tire is 39.1 grams, and the weight of the car, this is a bone stock car, by the way. The weight of this one is 228 to start. So we're adding a fair bit of weight, 228 versus that 175, right? So we'll see how much these stock ones weigh, but I imagine this is going to change the weight quite a lot. All right, so single tire is 15.5. So we've got the 2 tires on here on the one side. These is just hanging over on the other side. The tire width is obviously bigger, which we were expecting going into it. Here you can see the original tire versus the new one. I think the tread might actually be backwards on these here. I'm gonna flip those around. So that's part 1, and it's also a little bit wider. And then 2, and you can tell that there's a bit more offset here versus over on this side from using that the wheel spacer. Remember, we use the longer of these 2. All right, we've got all 4 tires on, looking good, feeling good. This thing feels heavy and dense by comparison to before. And let's see our final weight versus the 228. It was stock. We're now up to 344. So a fair bit more. It'd be interesting to see how it performs, but overall, love the look of these. We'll, I think we still need to vent the tire, so I'll take care of that real quick. Much better performance in terms, I mean, this one still takes a little bit of time to re-expand, but on some of these where there's no air was getting out, we're seeing the air come back nicely. So I think that's going to end up working out quite well versus what it was stock. So, all right, we'll get this thing out and see how it performs.
So not doing anything crazy here in terms of taking the crawler out on a rock, but it definitely offers some opportunities to see how well these tires stick, and also just see how that new weight really impacts the performance of the car. I don't have a before shot to show you how it was handling previously, but I can say that it was not nearly this good. So I think the combination of the added weight plus the new grip from the tires is making a big difference. I will say for a set of tires, I don't really know if these are like amazing or not, but I like them so far. But I am curious about what other kind of tires exist out there that might perform even better. But they started off super sticky. They're definitely a little stiff, and the foam inside them is making it so they don't conform to the rock as much as I would hope to. But all things to play around with, and for a first upgrade, this is pretty great, minus the beadlock rims, which are just a nightmare to put on, but maybe that's true of all of them. Although I've seen some that only have like 5 or 6 screws instead of 16 or 24, whatever the number is. Anyways, I would recommend this as a first upgrade. This is fun to do, but definitely curious to see what more we can throw on this thing and see how well it starts to perform. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on RC Bench.